Hello and welcome to Excel Essentials. In this session, I'll be covering splitting names with text before and text after. So as you can see here, I have a list of names and I've got a task of splitting these people into their first name and surname. And as you can see, we have some people with one first name, such as AJ, Breed, and then some people with two first names, Terry, Microsoft, John, William, Emma, Thelma, for example. Now, what we can do is we can split their name, their full names, into their first name and surname using the text before and text after formula. And this is how you would do it. So I'm going to start off with equals and we're going to write text before. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the text we want to have the formula act upon. So that's going to be A2 in this scenario. And then we're going to do a comma or semicolon depending on what region you are in. Then we are going to choose our delimiter. Now this is going to be a space as that's the only thing separating these names. So we're going to open our speech marks, put in a space and close our speech marks. And now we need to put in our instance number. And for that we are going to choose -1. And as you see we get AJ. Now, if I double click on the green box, you now see we get Terry Microsoft, John William, Emma Thelma, Padmasree Simba, for example. And now let's move on to the surname. So if I type in an equals and type in text after, we will do the same as what we did with the text before. We will select our cell, delimiter of a space, and we will put the instance number of -1. And now once we hit enter and we drag it all down, we now get everyone's surnames. Now let's move on to something a bit more advanced. Instead of being given the user's names, we've been given the user's email address, and we now need to grab the first name and surname from their email address. Now this is going to be a little trickier than we had previously, but we're going to start off on the basis of using the text before and the text after. So we're going to start with first names first, and we're going to start with the text before function. So here we're going to do text before, and we're going to select the email address. Now what we're going to use as the delimiter is we're going to use the full stop. And to do that, we open the speech mark and we'll put the full stop in because that is what's separating the first name from the rest of the email address set. And you can see the example with those who have two first names, such as John William. John William is separated from the rest of the email address using a period. And we're going to select -2 because instead of -1, because -1 will give us everything before .com, and we want everything before the second one, so we'll do -2 as the instance number instead of -1. And as you see, we now have AJ. Now we want it in full block capitals for the first letter of his name, and to do that we'll wrap it in the proper formula that we learnt previously. So once we wrap that, we get AJ with a capital A. Now if we fill that down, you see we have the issue of those with two first names, such as Terry Microsoft, John William, Emma Thelma, and Padmasree Simba, that there's a hyphen still showing in their name from their email address. Now, what we can use is the substitute formula here to get rid of the hyphen. So we're going to type in substitute, and what we will do is we'll keep our proper and text before formula where it is. And then we'll add in a comma and move into the old text that we want to replace. And to do that, we're going to put in the hyphen in speech marks, and then we're going to do a comma. And then we're going to do a space, because that's how we separate names. We separate it with first name space, second name space, third name space, surname space, depending how many names people have. And to do that, we'll do speech marks, space, speech marks, and then we'll close it, the bracket. And once bring that all down, we see we've now got the first names from the email addresses. Now, the surnames are going to be slightly more difficult, where we'll have to use a combination of the text after and the text before formula. But let's start with the text after formula. And we'll base it off of how we did the text before, initially with the aj.murray. So we'll start with the text after. And what we're going to do is we're going to select our email address, and then we're going to do comma, speech marks with the period in between, and then -2. And as you see, that gives us everything after the period, so murray@cookiefactory.com. Now, this is where we'll need to use the text before formula to wrap it around. So I'm going to Control Z, so we just focus on the first one up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the text after in the text before, like we did with the text before in the proper. So we're going to type text before, and we're going to open that bracket. Now, the text we're altering is whatever's produced out of the text after, so we'll leave that in the first part of the formula. And as you see, it gave us a little pop-up of what that looks like. And then we're going to do comma. Now, our delimiter this time is going to be the @cookiefactory.com. The reason we choose this is to help alleviate any room for error in this. And because it's a common denominator in all of them, we can use that easily as a delimiter. So we'll do open speech marks @cookiefactory.com and close those speech marks. And then we'll do a comma, and we'll mark it, for instance, -1. And once we're happy with that, we now see we've got Murray. So if we bring that down, you now see we've got everyone's surnames. And we can do the same thing we did to get the surname with a capital letter at the start by wrapping it all in the proper formula. And as you see, we've got a capital M for Murray. And if we drop that all the way down, we've got capital letters at the start of everyone's surname, and everyone's surname has been extracted correctly. Stay tuned for more Excel essentials.